Everyone. I'm delighted to be here today. I decided to do this live stream because so much has happened in the past week. But today, it was just unfortunate that very early in the morning, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Baltimore, they all experienced an earthquake and the aftershock. And it was 4.7 on the Richter scale. Some places reporting 4.8, but it's about 4.7 on the Richter scale. And I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about that with respect to leadership, entrepreneurship, expecting the unexpected. It is so important in this day and time to understand that everything has changed, right? Uncertain times, even with the climate, right? So, even with climate. And it is important for us to start to understand all these things that can affect us. It's very rare that we hear about an earthquake at that magnitude in New York. We know these things do happen, but it's just not common for New Yorkers. So, welcome. I am Alicia Marie Phidd, the host of Behind the News, the briefing podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever it is that you get your podcast. So I report on business news and tech, anything to do with business. It's a 1 minute podcast, right? Just very innovative, very different. It was created to speak with professionals on the go and, the typical Wall Street investor based on the information that I provide in 1 minute. But today is special. I decided to go live because I saw so many good things today in how the governmental leaders handled this incident. When I looked at the New York team when they rolled out all the protocols involved, it was something to behold. Even though I was watching it through the television, I saw the quickness with which they responded, and I know some people were asking questions. Reporters were asking questions as to whether or not 20 minutes was good enough, and I think the official gave a very proper and reasonable response as to making sure as to what was happening, making sure they rolled out the proper information. And of course, if you are in fact watching this live, and you live in New York, you should know by now that 311 is one of the numbers to call when something major is happening. And the leadership that I saw, the way they stood up, the quickness, I saw this with each of the cities that had major effect from this earthquake today. The reason why I wanted to talk about leadership, it's because for micro entrepreneurs, oftentimes it is the one area, business discipline, that comes last in terms of when they think about it. Very rarely do they think about the effect of leadership when everything that you do is based on leadership. I often say that you should lead yourself well so you can lead others to excellence. I believe in this. It's so important for us to understand this, especially micro entrepreneurs. Okay, large institutions, macro institutions, and the government, they're constantly doing leadership professional development. Micro entrepreneurs, gig workers, we're so busy trying to ensure that we have the next client. We're so busy building the business. And that is one of the areas that tend to somehow be, the last on the priority list. But you do need to consistently and constantly be involved with leadership development. And there are many ways you can do that, through education, through books of some sort. Just find a way to squeeze that in. Reduce your screen time. Reduce your screen time that's not edifying to you, and put leadership as one of the things to do, because understanding how to handle a crisis, that's leadership. And that was what you saw today with the governmental leaders, right? That is what you saw. With let's talk about one of the news that I'd covered, right, early this year, which was with Alaska Airlines and Boeing. Leadership came into question. Fairly or unfairly, that's not the point of this conversation. It's just that leadership came into question, because it will when there's a crisis and people are looking for answers and they need someone to hold them accountable. When you are a micro entrepreneur, you're held accountable for how you are operating, right? So this is why it's just very, very important on the leadership and how leadership can bring in revenue. Because of course, if you are running your business properly, or running you properly, people will look to that, right? If you are a leader, you must understand XYZ. You have to be a good follower. You also, I think it was excellent the way they handled everything, how they kept the entire country informed along the way. And you know what else that was remarkable on leadership? And then I'll move on to something else. This was remarkable on leadership. In, I believe it was Pennsylvania, the mayor, she spoke about a former leader in government reaching out to her while she was in a meeting, kept calling and texting to ask if they were aware of the earthquake reaching to Pennsylvania. So that I believe showed that once you're a leader, you stay a leader. It also shows relationships, right? How this is former leader. So from what the mayor said, she's no longer, the person who called her is no longer in a leadership position. However, they still took the, very important to know. Very, very important. Here's the other thing that I want to talk about. I want to talk about entrepreneurship in terms of it's that iron sharpened iron, and so shall a man sharpen the countenance of his friends. So we have the Briefing Line community. I talk about it on the podcast. I'm always reminding people to make sure you come and join us on Patreon. It's a Briefing Line community on Patreon. We cater to micro entrepreneurs. Well, if we hear of a new item that we believe can help you, we put that information there. And I'm talking what's available to you at the main level or the success level. We will put something as simple as, okay, so podcasting, right? So lots of people have been taking podcasting information from me, and there's this particular equipment that I believe is a must-have. Actually, I know it's a must-have if you're doing any kind of recording. And what I did, I took I took an image of someone using that particular equipment, and that was then posted in the main level so that everyone can see, okay, this is how you use this is what it looks like. Very, very important to share with you about that. So You want to be a part of a community, and we hope you choose to be a part of our community, the Briefing Line community, because that's where we have articles all day long, um, videos emphasizing different principles all day long. We even have an email course that you'll get once you are in the main level. So everything all day for professional development of the micro entrepreneur. Why? So that you can operate at the level of a macro business. That's the whole point of this. And as a matter of fact, this video, it will be public for about a day or so, and then it will be available only in the Briefing Line community at the main level. So those are some of the things that I try to contribute to micro entrepreneurs, to have that information in our community for you. What is the other thing that I wanted to talk about this lovely Friday evening? Take time for you. I'm not one to talk, really. I always have some other thing that I think about that I'm creating. Always. I just did the podcast movie, right? And these are some little vignettes. Some of them are a little bit longer. When they're a little bit longer, they're my short film. And that took some time, but it was fun to do and fun to make. And now the those that listen to me on the Behind the News, the Briefing podcast, and of course those that follow me here on YouTube as well, they really find it engaging and they love it. So now I have to continue to do it. Constantly create, constantly be a part of whatever your industry is, but still take time for you. So I do want to thank you for joining me on this quick live today. It was certainly a pleasure. I promise to do more lives beyond more times, and so that we can engage. So as I say on Behind the News, the Briefing, roar with you soon.